All right, so here we go. We're going to build on the lesson from yesterday. So today, the objectives, students will be able to solve literal equations for a specified variable. So we're doing more than just solving for y. We're going to solve for any variable they give us. Okay, just a reminder, distributive property, that's when 8 times x gives you 8x. 8 times 2 gives you 16. Inverse operations means you do the opposite when solving. If it's adding, you subtract. If it's subtracting, you add. If it's multiplying, you divide. And if it's dividing, you multiply. Addition property of equality means if you add to one side, you must add to the other. Subtraction property of equality means if you subtract from one side, you must subtract from the other. Multiplication property of equality means if you multiply on one side, you must multiply on the other. Division property of equality means if you divide on one side, you must divide on the other side. These are very important rules to remember when solving literal equations. You're really just following the rules. Okay, so a solution is when x equals some number. No solution is when it doesn't make sense. Infinite solutions are when they're exactly the same on both sides. So greater than means this number will be greater than this number. Less than means this number will be less than this number. Greater than or equal to means this number will be greater than or equal to this number. Less than or equal to means this number will be less than or equal to this number. Okay, so your worksheet for today. I'm going to do a few examples for you, and then you're going to be released to do it yourself. Okay, so this one tells us we need to solve for A. So what I want you to do when it tells you what to solve for, I want you to circle that thing. Okay, we want to solve for A. All right, so we need to get A by itself. What is M doing to A? It's multiplying, right? So how do we get rid of this M? Divide. So that cancels out. So A equals, what's F over M? That's it. It's just F over M. That's all you're doing. You're pretty much just moving things around by following the rules you already know. Okay? So now let's look at number 2. Number 2 is one like what we already know because it says solve for y. Okay, we already know how to solve for y. We solved for y all day yesterday. What are the 2 rules to solving for y? Move the x and divide by y. So we're going to move that x. So we have y equals what? Negative 4x plus 7. Because when you move the x, it changes the sign. Right? Okay, for number 3, it says solve for r. So when it tells us what to solve for, what are we going to do? Circle it. Circle what you're trying to find. You're trying to get r by itself. So what are p and t doing to r? They're both multiplying times r, right? So how do we get rid of both of them? Divide. We're just going to divide by both, p and t. Okay? So p gets crossed out, t gets crossed out. So we're left with r, and r is equal to I divided by p and t. Because you can't simplify I divided by pt, so you just leave it the way it is. Okay? So number 4. Number 4 is another solve for y like what we've already done. So what are the 2 rules to that again? Move the x, divide by y. So when we move this x over, we have 2y equals what? Negative 6x plus 10. Okay, because it went from positive to negative. Then what do we need to do? Divide by 2. So y equals, what's negative 6 divided by 2? Negative 3. X, do not forget your x. Then what's 10 divided by 2? 5. So we write plus 5. Do not ever, ever, ever do a plus negative. Never. It's either plus or it's minus. It's never plus negative. Okay, so let's look at number 5. What is it asking us to solve for? H. So we want to solve for h right here, right? Now, the first step to doing that, you need to get rid of this 1/3 first. 1/3 is the same. If you multiply something by 1/3, that's the same as dividing it by 3. Okay? So if technically multiplying by 1/3 is dividing by 3, how do we get rid of that 1/3? Not divide by 1/3. Multiply by what? By 3. Okay? Because if multiplying by 1/3 is the same thing as dividing by 3, then to get rid of dividing by 3, you would multiply by 3. Okay? So that's going to get rid of this 1/3. So 3 times v is just that, 3v, equals bh. And what are we trying to get by itself? H. So what do we still need to do? To get rid of that b, how do we get rid of it? Divide. Yeah, because it's multiplying. So we still need to divide by this b. So h is going to equal what? 3v divided by b. Just what you have there. This might look confusing and silly, so that's why I'm telling you just follow the rules and you should do just fine. Okay? Just follow the rules. If it's adding, you subtract. If it's subtracting, you add. If it's multiplying, you divide. If it's dividing, you multiply. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 more examples with you. One's going to be the 7 here. Number 7. Okay, for number 7, what are we solving for? C. So how are we going to get rid of that d? Multiply, because it is being divided, so we do the opposite. We need to multiply by d. Okay, so that cancels out, so c equals pi times d. Okay? All right, I'm going to do one more with you. Look to number 12. We're solving for y again. Okay? Now this one doesn't follow that rule, move the x, divide by y, right? First, we need to get that 10 over here, right? How do we get that 10 over here? Add 10. So this cancels, so we have negative x minus 2y equals positive 10. Then what can we do? Move the x and divide by y. So now we can move the x. We have negative 2y equals what? Positive x plus 10. And then we can what? Divide by negative 2. Don't forget your negative. So we have y equals, remember there's an invisible 1 here? So the invisible 1 divided by negative 2 makes what? 1/2. So negative 1/2 x, and then 10 divided by negative 2? Negative 5. So we write minus 5. Do not write plus negative. I will count that wrong. It is not plus a negative. It is minus 5. Okay? So work on the rest of this as fast as you can. Get it done. Turn it in. And then work on your review. I do have the video posted on Schoology under reviews for you to look over your review and prepare for your test. I promise you, if you do the entire review and then look over the video, you will definitely ace your test. Okay, it is that good. I promise. There's like mirroring questions that are almost exactly the same to your test. So if you do the review, you will do great on your test. All right, good luck. Let me know if you need any help.